Hi, everybody. I'm here with Francesco Benvenuto. And Francesco, I'd like you to introduce yourself, please.
Hello, everyone. My name is Francesco Benvenuto. I'm here in Dallas, Texas, and I am a music producer, sound engineer, and composer. My publishing is administered by Universal Music. I've done work for many artists and releases from the majors, from Warner, Universal, Sony. My work as a producer, engineer, and composer has received Latin Grammys nominations, and even this past year, we did a composition that ended up on an album that won the Latin Grammy. We're very fortunate, and very actively here at the studio, and well, now lately at home, creating records. Different dynamic, but we adjust to the times, you know.
In end of February, beginning of March of last year, I think it's safe to say that everything kind of hit the fan. So when the lockdowns began, and I imagine the studio was closed completely, how did things change for you, and how did you adapt?
So, yes, when the actual government sent out the notice, and it was a mandate that all businesses be closed and shut down, it was a scary thing for everybody. It was so many different feelings, because it was a very, very hard time. A lot of uncertainty of how the future was going to play out. Things looked very scary, and everybody was very cautious. And so, we're in the industry of music, and music, as everybody knows, at the end of the day, is a luxury when you put it on the actual scale of life. So, of course, our industry was like, oh my gosh, what do we do now? But crazy enough, as everybody was forced to stay home, when music is in your blood and it's in your veins, you have to let that out. You have to express. So we just had to adapt to a new system. But the work, although it did change somewhat, it also opened up other avenues. Now a lot of people were at home, were making music, and now they needed some great engineers that could take a home recording into a finished professional sounding record. And so it was a challenge, but at the same time, us engineers, when they say, well, you got to isolate, well, we look at it and we're like, well, I guess we're pretty trained for that. We pretty much live like this. But not having the ability to be in the same room with somebody else did kind of change the dynamic a little bit. Fortunate enough, we have the technology like Zoom, where we can come together basically virtually, like you and I are, like sitting together in sharing screen and jumping through ideas back and forth, doing a lot of audio mover session. I don't know if you heard of audio movers, where you can stream. That has been an incredible tool for us, the ability to stream mixes real time, so somebody can hear from a different room. So yes, it was a lot of feelings. It was scary, uncertain. What do we do? At the same time, all this other stuff starting opening. People were at home. They were still creating music. They needed to create music. It was kind of like, okay, how do we make this work? My challenge was more on the technical side of it, because, again, I'm used to having a well-treated room to monitor to and be able to listen, what we're working on. You can mix something that you can't hear. That's kind of crucial. If you can't hear what's going on, you can't really mix it right. So a lot of components are in between that. You have the electronics, electricity, how clean is it? And I've been educating myself. I had no idea of so many factors that really are very present when it comes to making records. I wish the actual consumer will really know everything that really entails on us delivering a song that they can enjoy. You know, all the electronics, the components of having great power and, you know, a great room where you can really craft the sound. So, you know, we, on the other hand, are able to adapt. We have adapted for so many thousands of years. So when this pandemic hit, you know, I was one of the first one where I said, well, you know, I'm going to keep the faith up. We have to adapt. We got to try something else. So I have had to, you know, probably invest in new gear, not gear, but piece of equipment that allows me to get some of that studio quality from home. And Ross, and here's the thing, I have developed such a great setup from home that now I'm so used to it and I need it. Like even though I'm at a studio, I have the access now when things are opening up. I still feel like I need to go to that one space at home where I have been creating these records, where things have been working out. So yeah, it's crazy how if you needed to, you can really make it work with, you know, the proper knowledge, the proper treatment in the room, and proper gear or electricity, so you could really operate correctly. So yeah, that has been my experience. At first, I'm not gonna lie, I did suffer a hit with, you know, productions, mixing, and trying to work from home. I was not used to it. I was not really, you know, it's like when you're at the basketball court and you're shooting, and the ball keeps, you're not making it. You're like, oh, what's going on? So you have to really try again and develop your ear like freshly. Like how is this room reacting? What are the things that this room are prohibiting me on moving forward with things? So it has been an incredibly amazing journey in learning a lot about the little things that we all take for granted. You know, the ability to focus, the ability to have a place where you could work for long hours and be able to pretty much listen on a good environment, have the right gear. So yeah, thankfully I had many friends, including yourself, who have helped me along the way and have suggested things, and I've been able to pull through. But now, again, like I'm here at the studio, I have access, but I still now have the need to work from home. I mean, I might come here to finish some products, of course, or have some meetings, but something happened in the pandemic that now I kind of got used to that little spot in my house. And yeah, it's a funny thing, but that's how it has affected me when that happened.
Right. It's great that you mentioned, you know, room treatments, because the room is such a vital component. I'm curious to know, I spoke with a mastering engineer in New York City a few weeks ago, and he said that when he was working from home, he's back at his studio now in Times Square, but when he was working from home, he was doing most, if not all of his work with IEMs. So just wondering, do you? I know you're a family man. Were you working under headphones at all when you were working from home?
So I was doing both. I was doing headphones. Headphones, I can do for a short period of time, just to see how things will react on the bottom end and the top end, like the full picture from top to bottom. Monitors, I need to have a real life experience with the monitors, because what I have learned is that when you have two monitors, you know, you have your left and your right. Well, this monitor is giving you information to this ear and this ear.
Yep.
And that's this one, right? So, you know, you get that 3D image, which is crucial. And I always teach this to the kids that join the program, and I tell them, for you to really be able to mix something the way you want it to, you have to have a sweet spot where you can actually envision that 3D picture. Like if you were sitting there in front of a stage and you see a singer, the drums, the horns, the piano, and unless you get there, you gotta still experiment with positioning your monitors or even your listening position further, closer, and also the height. It's most the thing is that in here in the United States, most of the real estate are perfectly squared rooms. And that is a horrible thing for sound, for audio. It is kind of like the worst possible. So if you're sitting 50% from top to bottom, you're already in a dead zone, in a no zone listening position. So you really have to adjust. Well, maybe I gotta get a smaller chair, like really go lower and go low. And then as you start moving, even moving your head a little bit now, all of a sudden you get a more clear image, a richer mid-range. So I have learned to basically, yes, I believe that the life is in the mid-range, but the low end is very important, especially in the music that I do, which is urban, Latin, and all this modern club music. The low end is crucial. So I did have to invest in a good pair of headphones, and there's a lot of technology out there where you can now calibrate your headphones, and you can use different plugins to make sure that you're listening to things. And even that thing that happens with the speakers, when one speaker shoots information, you're listening to both ears, that is now being put into these incredible plugins where it's giving you the same information the way that you would when you're sitting in a very accurate space. So it's been cool. But I feel like for me, the trick really was experimenting a lot with my room. I said, well, if I have this square room, what do I do? So the main thing that I did was make sure that all my reflection points were covered on the sides. As you guys know, if you got a monitor in front of you and it's going to shoot to you, but it's also going to shoot to the wall, you got to put a little mirror on that wall and then put a panel where whenever you move the mirror, if you see the speaker right through the mirror on the wall, that's where okay, hey, that's a reflection point. Let me put a panel there. So, because otherwise what happens is then you're getting sound from the speaker directly to you. Then you're getting that signal plus that signal bouncing from the wall plus the other signal bouncing from the ceiling. And by the time you're listening to it, you get a mess. But you don't know this. See, you're working and you're making decisions and not knowing that you're getting fooled by the physics of the room. Another big thing is that if your wall, like if you have, depending on the wall, how close it is, in a square room, that's depending on where you sit, that's also a big problem, because if I got the speaker shooting information to me, plus the signal that's bouncing from the wall behind me back to me, then it's going to create either a null or a big bump in whatever frequency. So a lot of people that are out there, if you're making records from home and you're having a great time while you're doing it, and then you go to the car and you play it and you get depressed, trust me, we've all been there. So it's not you, it's not your ability, you're fighting against the physics of the actual room. So during this pandemic, I was forced to learn a lot about room acoustics, at least the very basic, and cover the things that are really important, which is covering your reflection points on the ceiling, on the walls, behind you, and also the positioning of the speakers. I've learned that if you have, let's say you have your wall here, and then you have your speaker right where my finger is here. So if the distance between the speaker and the wall is, let's say, 3 feet or 4 feet, right? And that is the exact same distance that the speaker is on the roof, then that's a big no-no. You're gonna have a lot of cancellation. So now you got to figure out, oh, well, shoot, what do I do? Do I go up? Do I move it more to the side to make sure that, so it's a lot of experimentation. You got to take that tape ruler, whoever said you didn't need math for life has no clue about whether, especially for a sound engineer, you really have to do the math and use your ears and do a lot of experimentation. But for the most part, if anybody has that issue and you're listening to this at some point of your life, I'm telling you, if you're able to get a distance that the speaker from where it's at, that distance to the sidewall is not the same or a multiple of from the distance that it is to the ceiling and to the floor and to the other wall, then that's the key. Yeah, you have to experiment. You probably have to move a little bit to the side, maybe a little bit up or a little bit down, get you some great stands that allows you to really place the speakers elevated up or down in height. That has been a big deal. And and it's crazy how in a home, if you move something just a little bit, now all of a sudden it's not the same. So it's a lot of experimentation, but once you get it, you'll know it, because when you play your favorite records and you're at the sweet spot, man, it comes to life and you're like, oh man, I feel this, I can really sense everything in this mix. Sounds incredible. And if you sit there for hours, even before your day starts, if you have your cup of coffee and take at least 45 minutes listening to great sounding records, when you get to work, you're going to notice that your ears are already calibrated so you can attack your mix, and also use a lot of references. If you're working on big bass music and, you jump to the other reference, which is the song that is hitting right now on the top of the charts, that is doing very well and is connecting with billions of people, then you know that that's already a proven result. Then you try to match your sound to that sound. If they got more bass and you don't, well, hey, push that bass, don't be shy, or vice versa. Maybe you have too much, right? In my case, I always feel, because it's a room environment, you never know, you pushing bass, but I also keep myself mindful. I'm in an untreated room. I have some treatment, but it wasn't designed for this per se, right? So I got to keep that in mind. So I use a lot of references. So between moving speakers back and forth, your sitting position is also crucial. Like if you're sitting too back and you are almost like in the middle of the room, that's a dead zone. That's a completely dead zone. I remember that particular room, I sent out the dimensions and the schematics to many top acousticians of the world. And I even gathered a budget to be like, hey man, help me out. How can I make this sounding better? And the response I got, Ross, is like, they say, hey man, sorry, that's a square. There's nothing we could do that's going to work out in that room. So imagine getting this from the top acousticians of the world. And I'm here, well, I don't have anywhere else. I got to make this work. So that was a challenge. But then again, I've had a lot of work that came out from there that did very well, that clients were very happy and so forth. So you can really make it work. There is hope. Absolutely, there is hope. If you can make it work with a very good pair of speakers, right? In my case, my speakers were not that big. I have all sizes. I got the real tiny small one. I got some ATCs. I got some focals that are very big. And the focals that are very big that produce a lot of bass, it just wasn't a good fit for the room. So I had to stick with the little small ones that really, that projected the mid-range. And I feel like if you can really get the mid-range sounding right, then you can adjust the low end and the top end with a very good pair of headphones. And also you could plug in a plugin to help you calibrate your headphones as well. And you might do a couple, card tests, but nowadays I'm telling you, I'm already to the point where I don't even need to do any card tests. I see how he's reacting. And when I get to the studio and I play my mixes that I work from home, I'm blown away. I'm like, wow, like I showed you that big room back there a minute ago. That is a huge room. It's very well treated. When they built the studio, I believe they paid $1.3 million was back then, and And I'm talking about years ago. Now to create something like this, it'll take at least 3.5 because everything has been. So it was a room that was dedicated for sound. And for me to be able to play the stuff that I produced from home or worked or engineered from home into the big system and do the comparison with my reference. Like, hey, this is the song that's hitting, that's on top of the Billboard chart. This is my mix. And hear that amazing, like, wow, like I can't believe I made this work. But it is truly possible. It is truly possible. Also, if you let me, if you allow me, I do have to talk a little bit about the power, because in my situation in my house, you know, I live in the country. I love the country. It's very peaceful, not too far out from the city. So, but still enough is country. So the electric power, the power that I was getting at home wasn't the most ideal. And I remember I called my friend Luca Pretolesi from Vegas, and I say, Luca, man, I got this situation, man. Because he told me one time that he purchased an equipment for power stuff, and he said, no, try getting some sort of isolation box to, you know, clean your power and all that. So I made a few phone calls. I think I even spoke to you a little bit about that. But bottom line, when I got that all figured out, and I was able to get the cleanest and purest form of power I could get from my equipment, that was a deal breaker for me. And then I understood, okay, so a lot has to do as well with the power. And even if you're in the box, just plugging in your monitors to your home, to the wall, you know, they're still going to, the sound that's going to come out of there is not going to be 100% the sound that the monitors were intended to reproduce. So when I switch over to my whole power system, that's when I was like, truly, it was a double feeling. It was an exciting feeling and also a depressing feeling when I opened up my previous mixes and I hear like, oh my gosh, all this stuff is drowning in reverb. How come I couldn't listen to the reverb? Well, reverb is so subtle, but if you got a lot of noise, white noise coming through and you don't hear it, well, you're thinking, okay, well, it's cool. I guess I can push a little more reverb. But you're only getting full because what you're listening to is not ideally, truly what's really going on. So anyway, I did get over that little depression, but I'm more excited now that I was able to actually find out, okay, now we got this going on right. So I think that was a big deal for my monitoring, listening, and my equipment. But yeah, man, between moving the speakers, experimenting in your sweet spot, listening position, headphones, you can truly make it work. And you know, Ross, honestly, I really believe that we're going to enter a whole new generation of guys and girls that's going to be their norm. You know, the big mega studios, not everybody can get in. Right? Not everybody has the budget. Not everybody has or the connection if you're interning or whatnot. And I think if when this new generation is starting from that point on and they're making it work from home, that's going to be the normal. That's going to be the standard. Of course, there's always going to be a need to get together in a room. At least thank God that we have some great mastering engineers that they can take your stuff to the finish line, right? And you have that final buffer, final help and assistance. But I truly believe that we're entering a whole new realm of a new generation of producers and engineers that, since they're forced to work from home and on their laptops and headphones and speakers, that they're going to figure out a way how to do it and do it right. And that music is still, although it's going to change, everything's going to change. So I'm keeping myself open to whatever outcome happens. This was a big eye opener, not only for, of course, everything that has happened business wise, but it also tells me that, hey, if this happened and that quick, because Ross, things happen like that, man. Like within so many days, everything's like boom, everything has changed. That tells you, man, that at any point, any other change can happen, and you got to be ready. You got to be ready if you were to just stay home, right? If you have to stay home, how do you make it work? What's going to be your setup, your situation? I'm at the point where I feel very confident right now. I'm comfortable that I can make music. And, you know, my second son, Angelo was born in January, and it's been very exciting. So
congratulations.
Thank you. So even in that little room that I have for the music, now I have a bed. You know, so sometimes I sleep with him there and have to move things around. But even like that, Ross, the way that I'm working and crafting records in the middle of the night, put my baby to sleep, he ate, changed diaper, he's good, boom, jump in the computer, focus, and it has been working out. I really believe that it is possible if you train your ears to work from home and you cover your bases, right? As far as acoustics, right monitoring, headphones, and all that.
You're so filled with hope and enthusiasm, and it's really a treat to talk to you again.
Thank you.
And you know, congratulations again on your growing family, and your kids are growing up in a house that's filled with music, and you know, what better gift could you give them? That's fantastic.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I'm very thankful, man. I'm humbled. You know, there's when you really put everything on the balance of life, you know, we're blessed, Ross. You know, we could be everything could be different for us. There's people around the world that don't even have a toilet to sit in, man. I mean, when you think about that, people that have to walk for miles to get a cup of clean water to drink.
Yeah.
Man, you know what? We're going to make this work however we can. We're going to make it work. So you just, you know, it's very important to always be hopeful, be self-motivated, be self-enthusiastic. Remember, when the engineers, they got a very lonely road. And you have to be able to motivate yourself and go against the current and go against many things, you know. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of things. But you have to work through all that and stay positive and look at the end goal, end result, because, you know, otherwise, if you focus on the wrong thing, that's where you're gonna end up. You know, they tell the NASCAR drivers, don't look at the wall, because as you're driving, if you look at the wall, you eventually end up there, right? So yeah, while you're in the pandemic and I got a baby crying and he's hungry and I got the client, hey, where's the mix? And I got the electric not working and I got this going on. I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, you could really sink in on a home. Be like, I can't do it. Throw the towel. Or you can push on through, man, put on a smile and give the very best you can. And that, I found, that is the way to stay mentally strong. You have to be mentally strong as an engineer to be successful to a point where you can really make this work for yourself, you know.
Really appreciate your time and your enthusiasm and your contribution to our program. I'm very grateful, and I hope that, you know, AES convention or a NAMM show or something, I hope we'll get an opportunity to meet in person and hang out and you know, tell some stories.
Yes, Ross, and thank you. I'm so honored that you invited me to do this. Thank you so much. I have the deepest respects for you, AES. I mean, it's really an honor being here and doing this. So thank you for the invitation.
All right. Well, much appreciated. And take care of yourself, and we'll see you down the road.
Take care, my friend.